risk rather than reward. Sometimes you can go down a big rabbit hole. Welcome to Real Talk. I'm JJ Kinahan. Welcome to Real Talk. When we started out in this show, our goal was to bring you some of the brightest minds in finance and how they think about the retail investor with the products they have, and to help you understand not only the products, not only trading, but maybe something different, and that is how great leaders lead great organizations. So far, it's been really exciting. We've gotten a chance to talk about fintech and the retail investor. We've gotten a chance to talk about how things affect the registered investment advisor community, how people still fit very large into what goes on in a heavily technology world. All of this to benefit you so that you can think about trading a little bit differently and perhaps even the bigger picture. How do you think about leadership? How does what these people are saying relate to you in your everyday job and your everyday life? I'm really excited for today's subject. We have a woman I admire very much, Adena Friedman, on today. Adena was named one of Forbes' most powerful women. She's the first woman to be a CEO and president of a major exchange. Adena is the CEO and president of the Nasdaq exchange. The Nasdaq was founded in 1971. Many would call it one of the huge fintech leaders in our space. Why? Nasdaq stands for National Association of Security Dealers Automated Quotations. Hopefully you can win in Jeopardy with that question answer. And what does that really mean? They were the first fully electronic exchange. With that, they become a global powerhouse operating around the world, and Adena serves as the leader of all this. Not only a highly intelligent woman, but a very engaging woman who was nice enough to sit down with us, share her thoughts on business, and share her thoughts on leadership. I hope you enjoy this show as much as I did. Our viewers are primarily retail investors, and I don't think they actually realize what the Nasdaq does for them as an exchange. And so if you could just start us out with, why is it so important that something like the Nasdaq exists?
Sure. Well, the first thing that we do is we provide you a transparency into what the prices are of every stock in the country. And we think about options.
Right.
So we have stocks, options, treasuries, and futures in the United States. And so we're here to make sure that every retail investor understands where the prices are, where the stocks are trading, what the price formation is, and therefore then have seamless access to be able to trade against that price in an instantaneous basis.
Great, and you've had a lot of success this year with the FANG stocks, particularly all listed at your exchange, et cetera. But I think that one of the things that as an industry we face, and I know you've talked about this a lot, is the lack of IPOs. So if you could talk a little about why that's a problem and why it really does sort of hurt the retail investor.
Right, and that actually is the other big function that we serve to every investor in the country, which is allowing entrepreneurs and innovators and new companies come and raise capital. So make it so that they have access to all of the retail investors out there, as well as institutional investors, to be able to raise money, grow their businesses, create jobs. And the challenge that we're having in the U.S. capital markets today is that there are a lot of ways that companies can raise capital today. They don't have to come to the public markets to be able to find the capital that they need. They can use the private markets, private investors. And so what we need to do is, as opposed to cutting off that source of capital, which is frankly extremely valuable and important capital to have, is to make the U.S. public markets more competitive. And one of the things that we've been working with down in Washington is to make it so that if companies have an easier path to going public and an easier experience of being public. Getting rid of some of the unnecessary disclosure obligations, potentially making it so that they have fewer disclosure channels that they have to use, proxy form, access reform, all the things that really make it so that they feel challenged in being a public company. We want to start to try to get rid of some of those obligations and make it a better experience.
As you talk about it, it's interesting because as technology has changed so many other things, it seems like this is one area where technology just hasn't had an opportunity to play, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, the going public experience is a very well-trodden experience, but the being public experience, there is a lot of process, and the reason why that the technology really hasn't taken on in terms of that experience is because it's really a regulatory obligation.
Right.
And so, as we all know, going through a regulatory process generally has a lot of human element to it, a lot of paperwork, a lot of bureaucracy involved in it, and I would argue that being a public company, there's that component to being in the public markets.
Well, you experience on both ends, both being a public company and helping other public companies, so you're a great resource for that.
I'm a huge believer that human judgment and creativity will always be a major part of the markets.
With an hour left before the close, you need all the information you can get. Join me, Oliver Rennick, for Market on Close. Analysis from some of the smartest minds in the business through the lens of stocks, options, and futures activity will interpret the news you need to take action. Exclusive content for investors looking to cut through the noise by cutting the cord. Market on Close, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time, only on the TD Ameritrade Network.
We just got married.
We're all under one roof now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How many kids?
My 2, his 3.
Along with 2 dogs and Jake, our new parrot.
That is quite the family.
Quite a lot of colleges to pay for, though.
A lot of colleges.
Okay, you get any financial advice?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's the same plan they sold me before.
Well, your situation's totally changed now.
Right?
How about a plan that works for 5 kids, 2 dogs and Jake over here?
That'd be great.
That would be great.
That okay with you, Jake?
Get a portfolio that works for you now and as your needs change from TD Ameritrade Investment Management.
So, Lionel, what does being able to trade 24/5 mean to you?
Well, it means I can trade after the market closes.
It's true.
So all
Evening long.
Ooh, so close. Yes, but also all...
Night through its entirety.
come on, all
The time from sunset to sunrise.
Right, but you could trade...
From darkness to light.
You're not gonna say it, are you?
You know, I used to be good at this. You turn 40 and everything goes.
Tell me about it.
You know, it's made me think I'm closer to my retirement days than I am my college days. I'm thinking, will I have enough? Should I change something?
Well, you're asking the right questions.
Well, I just want to know, am I going to be okay?
I know people who specialize in am I gonna be okay?
I like that.
You may need glasses, though.
Yeah.
Schedule a complimentary goal planning session today with TD Ameritrade.
In the next part of my conversation with Adena, we covered a topic that affects all of us in our daily lives, and that is technology. If you look at what's happened in the markets over the last 20 to 30 years, this has certainly been an area where technology has grown significantly. In my own personal experience, I've seen it firsthand, going from being a floor trader to somebody who uses amazing electronic platform every single day of my life. So, as we talk to Adena, we know that Nasdaq, with their roots, as I said, from 1971, being an early disruptor of how things were done by using electronic quotes, and has continued to develop as a worldwide leader in how financial technology is used. The important question, and one that we've asked many times here on Real Talk, is how does this technology fit in with the human element? How can we humanize technology, so to speak? I thought Adena's answers were great and hopefully can give you insight as a retail trader on how to use technology better, and for those of you who are perhaps a little more afraid of it, how to really think about it so it can help you every single day in your investment decisions. Please join me for this next segment, which I really enjoyed with Adena. But, you know, you talk about technology a lot. The Nasdaq been on the cutting edge of technology from the very beginning. Basically, that's how they were founded. But as you see that, as retail investors are watching, what do you think has been the changes in technology that have helped them the most in the last 10 or 15 years?
Well, I mean, before we even get there, if you think about it, Nasdaq was formed in 1971 as the first electronic exchange, and then TD Ameritrade and Schwab really were formed as the first way to democratize investing using technology, using the internet. So the fact that we had an electronic marketplace that allowed for quotes to stream out over a network, make it so that it wasn't trapped inside a room and it was available to everyone to be able to see, that was a critical component to being able to launch, you know, a TD Ameritrade or a Schwab, to make it so that you can have all of the investors have access to that information. And then you guys created an incredible experience for investors to come and interact with the markets. So that was only in the 1990s. It wasn't that long ago when all of that changed. So if we look at flash forward over the last 20 years, the amount of data that's available to investors today, the ability for them to process that into a trading decision, the instantaneous access they have to the markets, the ability for them to know that they can get size done at a price that they see on their screen, and you guys create an incredible experience for them with amazing access to liquidity. So that's the today, right? So what's going to happen tomorrow?
Well, that was my next follow-up question. What does it look like in 10 or 20 years?
I think it's just a matter of looking at a few things. First of all, data is going to become intelligence, and intelligence then gives them even better, a better ability to make smarter investment decisions. So our job, both I think TD Ameritrade and Nasdaq's job, is to harness that data and make it accessible to people in a format that they can understand, and that a human can still digest. Now, it could be a machine digesting it, but it should also be a human who can digest it, use their judgment, use their creativity on top of it to make a really great investment decision. And I think that's a big part of the next generation of what trading is going to be. Both more algorithmic trading, but more what I would call technology-enabled trading for investors. And then if I look at also the fact that most markets today sit in housed data centers. So what happens when we bring those markets into the cloud? So when our infrastructure ports up and becomes cloud-enabled, which our next-gen system allows us to do, what does that mean in terms of connectivity to the markets? What does that mean in terms of the globalization of what is ordinarily today more of a domestic market? There are global markets out there in futures and options. So how can we make it so every tradable asset is really on a global scale? And I think that those are the types of things that in the next 10 years are going to be amazing. And then the last thing, of course, is if you layer on top data, machine learning, and then you bring in the concept of quantum computing and the ability for the quantum computers to be able to parse through even more information and make simultaneous decisions even faster. What does that mean in terms of surveillance? Making sure that Nasdaq and all the markets, we protect the integrity of the markets and make it so that we have safe markets to operate in. That's something that we're very focused on as well. We have the world-leading surveillance technology that both broker-dealers and exchanges use. So how do we make sure we apply quantum, we apply machine learning into those technologies to make it so the markets remain safe? So that's the future of trading.
That great answer. But when you brought up one thing I just want to follow up on, because one of the things that I think people fear is that technology, and you talked about it in a great way a little bit, but if you can expand, technology, where does the human fit in? And I think you talked a bit about that, about technology helping, but if you could just expand a little bit about, because as a CEO, you're someone who sees this firsthand, you see how it affects the people who work for you. How do you feel about the human touch, so to speak, still being there?
Yeah, I'm a huge believer that human judgment and creativity will always be a major part of the markets. It doesn't mean that you will always be making that a keystroke decision to put your order in, but you will be using your judgment to make the right investment decision that then could be generated by a computer to be put in. I also believe that technology, if we allow technology to run all of the markets and make all the decisions, there will be a massive herd mentality that would come into the markets. That also, of course, creates a huge arbitrage opportunity for the humans to come in and use their judgment to say, that's not the right decision. I'm going to find alpha by making a counter decision to that. That's what's so wonderful about the U.S. markets, is that it's so robust. We have so much interaction of different types of investors, and we allow for the human and the machine to work together to find the right price, to use all the information available, and then use your creativity and judgment to make the right decision. And I think that's what the future of the markets will be.
Oh, you started to talk about what you see in the future, and you alluded a little bit to an article you wrote recently about sort of a worldwide marketplace. And if you just wanted to give a couple minutes, it was a great article. Everybody should read it. And just Google Adena. You'll see it the second thing that pops up. And so if you just wanted to expand on how your feelings about data and the individual, et cetera.
Well, I just think it's interesting that this idea that we have simultaneous capability for a buyer and a seller to find the right price really only exists in very few parts of our economy today. Obviously the capital markets, and then you see some, like in eBay and some of the market sites where they do allow for a consumer on secondary goods market and some primary goods markets to be able to have some control over the price in which they pay for a good, and there's a simultaneous discussion of buying of the right price. Our view is that will spread out across the entire economy, and as you think about it, at the end of the day, what is the value of your identity? What is the value of what you can bring to a market? If you are looking at buying insurance for a short-term period of time. You put in all of your inputs. Can you negotiate that price for short-term insurance? You're going on a trip and you want to have trip insurance. Right. Can you make it so that you have some control over the price at which you pay? You create a marketplace.
A bid and offer like a stock.
Bid and offer, exactly. That allows for you to make an instantaneous decision, but you have more control over the buying experience. That is, I believe, will kind of infiltrate across many parts of the economy. And the Nasdaq, of course, what our platform is doing, our next-gen system, is it's a cloud-enabled marketplace platform that allows you to be able to build off of any good and service and make it so that that becomes a tradable instrument.
It's every person watching this who loves the markets would love this in every area of their life. It's like I said, great article and an unbelievable concept.
Thank you. Go into the world with optimism. Go into your career with optimism. Assume that you have no limits.
I'm Oliver Rennick.
I'm Ben Lichtenstein.
I'm Victor Jones.
I'm Kevin Hinks. I'm showing you on the screen here right now the Nasdaq, the ES, the Dow, the Russell.
You can see the pop right there overnight.
This stock, best performing stock in the Dow. It's up 70%.
As an investor, you need to think about how this affects the overall business strategy.
People miss the boat in that they don't have a plan when they get in, and when the stock goes against them, they panic.
Think about the duration of whatever you are investing in.
So we're going to look at the company profile on the mobile device.
If we can start to make it easier for our clients to work with us through modern technology, modern tools, and greater degree of investor education, then that'll be a source of growth.
Dive in for a daily dose of trader education with swim lessons. Join me, Victor Jones.
And me, Kevin Hinks, as we walk through ways to place and manage simulated trades.
That's right, you can sharpen your thinkorswim skills.
It is fairly new, but a great tool.
And break down the charts.
How to use this, how to trade off of this.
Dive in with us daily, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Central, only on the TD Ameritrade Network.
So how's it going?
Well, we had a vacation early in our marriage that kind of put us in a hole.
Go someplace exotic?
Yeah, Bermuda.
A hospital in Bermuda.
A hospital in Bermuda.
What? What happened?
I got a little overconfident on a moped.
Even with insurance, we had to dip into our 401k, so it set us back a little bit.
Sometimes you don't have a choice, but it doesn't mean you can't get back on track.
Great.
Yeah, great.
I'd like to go back to Bermuda.
I hear it's nice.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
No judgment, just guidance. TD Ameritrade.
I couldn't sit down with Adena without asking her more about her background, how she became the first female to lead a worldwide global exchange. From her days getting her BA at Williams College and her master's from Vanderbilt University, all the way through her career and all the things she's done. I think one of the great parts of Adena's story is the fact that she's held so many roles at Nasdaq. She worked her way up the ladder, at one time serving as COO, another time serving as CFO, now serving as CEO and president of the exchange. She had so many great insights as to how to think about being a mentor and looking for mentors. Some of the tests in her career where she had to stand up to people and really assert herself in her roles. I thought her answers were fantastic, and often people say, oh, this is someone for young women to look up to. I don't think it's just young women, young men. She's a great role model for all young people and even older people like myself. I think we all have something to learn from someone who's such a fantastic leader. And this was really my favorite part of the conversation. So I can't have someone in your position and not ask you about leadership.
Sure.
And just, what do you believe about leading a firm of your size? And I'll ask you what you enjoy most about your job, and what's the part that you're like, well, if I didn't have to do this again, I'd be okay with that.
Well, I think the first thing is that in today's economy and certainly in today's corporate environment, we have to make sure that we bring ideas up from within the organization. So this idea, I call it collaborative command. There usually has to be someone who ultimately makes a decision. It doesn't necessarily be me, but there usually is someone who has to make a decision. and they have to be able to drive that decision forward and get everyone behind them. So, but the ideas and the opinions have to be able to be brought into the room in a safe way, in a way that you're encouraging the best idea to come forward. You're vetting ideas appropriately. So I call that's the collaborative side. Bring all the collaborative nature in, but ultimately make the decision. And then once you make the decision, you push forward and everyone walks with you. And so that's collaborative command. And that's the type of leadership that we have within Nasdaq. We really allow for a lot of ideas to surface, but at the end of the day, we have to make decisions and we have to move forward. And we're a public company, so we also have to make sure that they are, in fact, leading towards better shareholder return over the long term. So that's kind of the way that we focus our organization. In terms of what I like about it, I love leading talent. I love finding people and really bringing them up and making them, challenging them, giving them opportunity, and watching them succeed. So that's, to me, my absolute favorite part of leadership is finding that next generation of leaders and making it so that they have success. I think that the part that I would say I could do with that, I haven't figured that out yet. I really enjoy pretty much every aspect of the job. I actually really enjoy going to Washington and advocating in Washington because, first of all, I believe regulators are there to try to do the right thing. They're trying to make sure we have a safe and secure economy. And so they're all there focused on the right goal. And particularly the SEC today is very focused on what they call Mr. and Mrs. 401k. And I'm a huge believer in that. So therefore, going down to Washington and advocating for the industry in that context, I feel is actually, it's a very productive use of my time. And so I enjoy every aspect.
Well, and it helps our viewers also and our clients also because we have a lot of the same alignments on things. So that's great. Couple of more quick questions before I know you have to run. Books. What books have you read that really influenced you, or what kind of books do you like to read that you think our viewers could get some good tips or whatever?
Sure. Well, I don't generally read books that would give me tips in life, but I do look at things. I usually, I have to admit, read books to escape the craziness of life. But I also do find that I like reading books that teach me more about myself, teach me to be a better person. So things like, actually, I know one, Option B, which was written by Sheryl Sandberg recently, it's a really great book because it gave you empathy towards an experience that you hope you never have to have, but it allows you to understand how to interact with other people who might be going through that. And so those types of things make it so that I feel like I can be a better person. Those are the types of books that I tend to read outside of fiction and historical biographies and things like that.
Well, you just talked about Sheryl Sandberg, and it is a great book, by the way. But other people who are like the people who you would say you kind of try and take their qualities, or somebody who's been a great mentor to you?
Sure. I mean, I think that if I look at the people that have influenced me in my life, I have a very few people who I go to for advice, but they're people who have had intellectual curiosity throughout their entire career. I have this one mentor who is in his 70s and he still is like he's 30. He's out there talking to entrepreneurs every day. He's bringing in great ideas into the firm he works in every day. His energy level is just incredible. But yet, he's also very good at picking winners, right? He's very good at finding the characteristics of what's going to be a successful entrepreneurial company. And so I enjoy watching him because he's able to cut through the noise, but also keep that energy level up throughout his entire life. I would say that another person that I use to get great advice from is someone who's able to navigate. He's got an incredibly complex job, but he's able also to find the thing that's most important and what's going to matter for his company, what's going to drive it forward. So that idea of being able to have mentors help you cut through the noise, focus on what's important, whether it's for your own career, or whether it's for your company, or whether it's for your life, they're really good at kind of allowing you to kind of maintain the right focus on moving yourself and your company forward.
And I would be remiss to let you go without asking you this question. As a father of two daughters in their 20s, you've made an incredible journey to where you are today, and largely a male-dominated world, particularly when you came up. Obviously, it's much more balanced than it was when you first started. So what do you say to young women, and not just in our industry, but overall, to kind of help them sort of achieve their dreams, or what things they should be looking at or trying to develop in themselves?
Sure. I mean, I think there's so many things you can say, but the first thing is go into the world with optimism. Go into your career with optimism. Assume that you have no limits. And assume that when you get there, you have every right to be one day in the CEO seat, just like everyone else there. It's just a matter of whether or not you have the will, determination, and desire. So that's the first thing. The second thing is say yes. Early on in your career, if someone asks you to do something that you don't know how to do, yes, of course I'll do it. And then you go figure it out.
Right.
And the great thing is today, which was not in existence when I first got started, is the internet gives you a lot of tools to allow you to figure things out. But just say yes. Open your mind to new things, open your mind to new responsibilities. Don't ever say, oh, I don't think I can do that. So make sure you say yes. And then I think the last thing is, I said early in my career, I remember this when I was in my 20s, I was dealing with a lot of guys who were older, and especially industry guys. And I said to myself, within 5 minutes of the start of every meeting, I want them to forget that I'm a woman. I want them to see me as someone who brings in intellect, content, expertise, and then I'm a contributor to the conversation. And that's how they should view me. Within 5 minutes, they kind of realize that I'm here to contribute to the conversation. I'm there to make that a better meeting, or to drive the company forward in a different way. And I think that if you go into the meetings that way, honestly, at the end of the day, they'll see you for what you can contribute. And I think that made a big difference to me. It gave me confidence.
That's great. This was great having you here today. So Adena Friedman, CEO of the Nasdaq.
Today's show was another fantastic conversation. It was so interesting to hear from a woman like Adena, who served in this amazing role as CEO of Nasdaq, why the exchanges are important, why they're important for price discovery, why they're really important for IPOs, which has been something that has made the news a lot over the last couple of years. Now, we segued into some very interesting talk about technology, and one of the things that so many people have a concern about, and that is, how does the human element stay within technology? And I thought it was really interesting to hear from somebody who served as a COO and CFO and now CEO, and how they see technology not only helping their business, but more importantly, helping you as a retail trader. It was so great. The part of the conversation that I really enjoyed the most was the personal element. How do you take somebody who is such a great leader? What were the experiences that forged her to become this great leader? And how does she use that leadership to help forge the leaders of tomorrow? It's so interesting. Sometimes I hear, oh, she's a great role model for women, or she's a great role model for men. I say she's a great role model. If you're a younger person, this is someone you should want to look up to. As an older person like myself, it was great to learn about some of those experiences that made her the person she is today. So one of the parts I'm enjoying more and more about this show is to really hear from these great leaders and all the things that make them that, and Adena 100% fit that bill. With all that said, thanks again for joining us on Real Talk, and we hope to see you again real soon. Please tune in every weekday at 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central for Real Talk with me, JJ Kinahan.